Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the life divine with our beloved Ramanathan. And we have a new chapter this evening.
Yes. Chapter 27. The Sevenfold Chord of Being. The previous chapter was the ascending series of substance, and now he is going to specify the 7 planes of consciousness. I am reading the quotation from the Rig Veda. In the ignorance of my mind, I ask of these steps of the gods that are set within. The all-knowing gods have taken the infant of a year and they have woven about him 7 threads to make this weft. The infant of the year will come up again, so it will come in the text and we will discuss that then. We have now, by our scrutiny of the 7 great terms of existence, which the ancient seers fixed on as the foundation and 7-fold mode of all cosmic existence, discerned the gradations of evolution and involution, and arrived at the basis of knowledge towards which we were striving. We have laid down that the origin, the continent, the initial and ultimate reality of all that is in the cosmos is the triune principle of transcendent and infinite existence, consciousness and bliss, which is the nature of the divine being. Consciousness has 2 aspects, illuminating and effective, state and power of self-awareness and state and power of self-force, by which being possesses itself, whether in its static condition or in its dynamic movement. For in its creative action, it knows by omnipotent self-consciousness all that is latent within it, and produces and governs the universe of its potentialities by an omniscient self-energy. This creative action of the all-existent has its nodus in the 4th, the intermediate principle of supermind or real idea, in which divine knowledge, one with self-existence and self-awareness, and a substantial will which is in perfect unison with that knowledge, because it is itself in its substance and nature, that self-conscious, self-existence, dynamic in illumined action, develop infallibly the movement and form and law of things in right accordance with their self-existent truth and in harmony with the significances of its manifestation.
Well, we have to go through this slowly. It's very complex.
Yeah, that's right. So, he is referring to all the chapters that he has said earlier, and we have laid down so many principles. We have looked at what Sat Chit Ananda is. We have also seen that the universe is the ascending series of substance. There is subtlety at the highest level, there is density at the lowest level, there is one at the highest level, there is the many at the lowest level, there is the formlessness at the highest level, there are forms in the lowest level, there is no manifestation at the highest level, there is manifestation at the lowest level. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind. The subtlest, the grossest, the one, the many, the formless, the form. What else? Consciousness, unconsciousness. Total bliss, perfect bliss. Here, pain, pleasure and indifference. So, This is the arrangement. So that's what he's actually summarizing. We have now, by our scrutiny of the 7 great terms of existence, what are they? Sat, Chit, Ananda, supermind, he's telling you that that's an intermediate, then mind, life, body. Or if you want, universal terms, mental consciousness, prana, and matter instead of body. Body would be the individual, but the individual and the universe are always, one is a reflection of the other. The universe, the human being is a condensation of the universe. Whatever is there in the universe is there in the individual in a limited manner. There is a vast plane of matter, man has a body. There is a vast plane of energy in the universe, man has a small vital being. There is a mind plane of knowledge and consciousness, mental consciousness, man has a mind. So this is how it is. If you go to the highest level, there is a vast, infinite divine. So you have the psychic being, a representation of the divine in you. The psychic being is limited. It grows. It's not infinite to begin with. The self is infinite, but not the psychic being. The psychic being is a small representation of the divine in the human being.
So the self and the soul are synonymous?
No.
There are 3 terms: soul, self, and psychic being. Okay? So you have to be very clear about them. We'll discuss the soul last. The self is infinite, unmanifest. It does not come down into it's a representation of the divine, but the psychic being is a divine element in human beings. Actually, it is there in all beings, but when it is there in the atom, it is a soul. The soul is the undeveloped psychic being. You can say that it is the soul is a very general term, and the soul is always individual, limited. But the psychic being is the developed soul, if you want, like the seed and the tree. When the divine manifests and comes into every form, he loses his consciousness, he loses his awareness, he loses his power, he loses everything. He goes to sleep. That's a soul.
And when Sri Aurobindo speaks of the world soul,
that is the world soul. You have to, it would become the universal soul. The individual soul can become the universal soul. That would be probably the self. You could identify it with the self, which becomes universal. So, self never comes down into body-mind life. It's a psychic being that descends and comes down into the body-mind life and develops through each life. It goes on developing. The psychic being is mutable. The self is not mutable. The self remains on top and supports the manifestation here. Just like a parent would support his children, in that way it is supporting. Without the self, it's the self that produces the universe, and the universe produces the individual. So, the soul is a very general term, which you could say is a divine presence in everything, but it is sleeping. It has to develop and become the psychic being. When that presence becomes aware of itself, it becomes a psychic being. Psychic being, I think, is mainly in human beings. At the animal level, there is a psychic entity, but it's not conscious. Sri Aurobindo speaks about even cats having psychic behavior. So animals can have an element of the soul, but it's not really the psychic being.
I believe Sri Aurobindo coined the word psychic being.
He coined the exact specification of the word. The word psychic exists in English, but in the sense of psychological. But he gave a special connotation to it, just like he also uses the word transformation. Transformation, in his case, is something very special. So,
the word psychic, now used by Sri Aurobindo, it comes from the psyche of Greek. The word is metempsychosis,
Yes.
which means the transition of the psychic entity from life to life.
Yes.
From there he is taken.
Yeah. Metempsychosis is the concept that the soul could migrate into other living forms. But at that time in Greece, it could also migrate into lower living forms. You could, from a human existence, you could go back to an animal existence. That normally does not happen, but the vital in a man can enter into an animal. It can happen. Because when the vital is not satisfied fully, it enters into any living creature to satisfy itself. That can happen. It's not common. It's rare, but it can happen.
Mother gave this example of a cat which she was having, and she saw the figure of a Russian woman in that cat. So the vital of that Russian woman had entered into that cat, and that cat was very consciously maternal. She would bring each of her kittens and place them between mother's feet before even going to relieve herself.
Yes.
So
that's right. But usually the psychic being in man graduates only upwards.
It's an evolutionary
it's evolutionary.
cycle.
Yeah. At the worst, it can become, it can repeat a life, or it can may not progress too much, but it's usually a progression from life to life. Okay, so we come back to what he's saying now. So we have by now, by our scrutiny of the 7 great terms of existence, we discussed that just now: Sat, Chit, Ananda, Supermind, Mind, Life, Matter. Okay, so the 7-fold mold of all cosmic existence discerned the gradations of evolution and involution and arrived at the basis of knowledge towards which we were striving.
And Rangada, sorry to interrupt, but regarding these 7 principles now, in the essay on the Gita, Sri Aurobindo says that the Sapta Rishis, known to the Indian tradition, they are also basically this only. I didn't know that earlier. From there I came to know. There is a shloka of the Gita which mentions the Sapta Rishis, the 7 seers. So it is these 7 principles only, basically.
But in mind is all those ranges.
Yes, there are ranges. Even in the vital there are ranges. Even in the physical there are ranges, because there is a percolation of each into the other. Okay? Even in the physical world we can see there is ice, there is water, and there is water vapor. So there also there is a gradation of the same thing. Each thing in the physical world, each element can be solid, liquid, and gaseous. So it can be so many things. So the subtlety is increasing and decreasing. That can happen. There are some things, some elements, which I think don't have a liquid form. There is what you call dry ice. Okay, it's solid and it becomes, it takes a gas form. There is no liquid form in it. That's why they use dry ice sometimes for transporting cold things. Otherwise, mostly, what about mercury? I don't know. Mercury is liquid. Does it have if you heat mercury, what happens? I don't know. Maybe all elements we don't know, but these are the 3 main: solid, liquid, gaseous. Many of them have these forms. So, yes, there is a gradation in between also. In the mind also, you have in fact, there is a physical mind, there is a vital mind, and a pure mind. And then above the mind also, you have higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, and overmind. Supermind is the dividing line between the manifestation and the non-manifestation. The non-manifestation is Satchidananda, and it is supermind that manifests the Satchidananda in the world. So, we have laid down that the origin, the continent, the initial and ultimate reality of all that is in the cosmos is a triune principle of transcendent and infinite existence, consciousness and bliss, which is a nature of divine being. We we might as well look at the word that he has used here, infinite existence. In Sanskrit, you have the word sat for existence. Usually, you translate the word sat as truth. And Sri Aurobindo also uses that. In that, there's a mantra he has given to Champaklal. In the night as in the day, be always with me. And finally he says, let it sustain and make to grow in me truth, consciousness and bliss. So you can translate as truth, but you can think of it in another way also. What is truth? That which exists. That which doesn't exist is falsehood. It doesn't exist, it's falsehood. So truth is that which exists. Now, what is it that exists most prominently in the physical world? Matter. So, that matter at the highest level becomes the subtlest of matter.
How can something not exist?
It doesn't. That's the whole point.
This he says elsewhere, that what we say is not existent is basically what we are not able to grasp with our mind, so we say it doesn't exist.
That's right. That which you can't understand, it doesn't exist for us. But there is no non-existence. There isn't any. So, you can interpret the word existence as subtle matter. And that matter is infinite.
So the first three gardens of the Maitreya are existence, consciousness, and bliss.
Okay? And now he is also explaining consciousness. Okay? That's interesting. We'll have to see the words. Okay? Then he is saying, and by the way, the word triune is interesting. It doesn't mean triple. Triune means 3 in 1. Like Bayun means 2 in 1. They are 2, but they are still 1. That we have to understand. Satchidananda is not 3 different things. They are all 1. It's like a granite block which is fully conscious of itself. I like to say that. Because granite is substance. So, this granite block is conscious of itself. And it has the power to mold itself into anything it wants. And enjoys itself. So this is, now make that granite block into the subtlest of matter. That is Satchidananda. It's all one. Okay, so triune principle of transcendent and infinite existence. The word transcendent also one must be clear. Transcendent means that which transcends the universe. It's outside the universe, before the manifestation. Okay, so transcendent and infinite existence, consciousness and bliss, which is the nature of divine being. Divine being is these 3, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Now he is discussing consciousness. Consciousness has 2 aspects. In Sanskrit we have Chit, Shakti. Chit is consciousness, which is static, and Shakti is that which is power, which is movement and energy. The 2 are separate, but they are always together also. Chit, Shakti. So, when he is saying, consciousness has 2 aspects. Illuminating and affecting. Illuminating is consciousness, which is light. And affective is power, that which affects something. So, these are the 2 words he is using, illuminating and affective. State and power of self-awareness, okay? Illuminating and affective, state and power of self-awareness, and state and power of self-force. So, self-awareness is consciousness, illuminating. And state and power of self-force. By the way, he is going on using self-force and self-bliss and all, because at our level, the bliss comes from outside. It is caused from outside. But in this case, he is himself generating it is not coming from outside. Because there is nothing outside him. He is everything. That's why it is self-existence and self-bliss and self-force. In our case also, the force comes from outside. If I eat, I get force. Okay? Or if a wind is coming and hitting me, it is coming from outside. But this is self-force. Everything, he himself is the force. Okay. Self-consciousness. Okay. So, power of self-awareness and state and power of self-awareness and state and power of self-force. So, state is static and power is movement energy of self-awareness. Self-awareness consciousness has got two aspects, static and dynamic. And again, state and power of self-force. Force also has got two. It can remain static and it can remain dynamic. Okay, so and power of self-awareness. And by which being possesses itself, whether in its static condition or in its dynamic movement. So now he is using the word being with a B cap. It depends on the context where he is using the word. But it is substance which is master of itself. The substance has got consciousness and it possesses its own consciousness, it possesses its own power. So that's what he's meaning by being possesses itself. So Ramdas uses the word possesses to mean it is master of itself. When I possess something, I am master of it. So the substance possesses consciousness, possesses force, possesses bliss. Okay, then whether in its static condition or its dynamic movement. Static condition, the self. Dynamic movement, body, mind, life. The lower cosmos. The cosmos is the dynamic movement. Body, mind, life. Body, mind, life. Rather, you have to show it the other way around. Above the mind is the static condition. When you enter the self, it is static. No movement there at all. Then, dynamic movement now. For its creative action, it knows by omnipotent self-consciousness all that is latent within it and produces and governs the universe of its potentialities by its omniscient self-energy. Okay, so for its creative action, this Satchidananda, when it creates itself in the physical world, it is itself unmanifest, but it starts creating. And how does it create? He is telling you. It knows by omnipotent self-consciousness. Omnipotent Shakti. Self-consciousness, Chit. All that is latent within it, just like the seed has got the whole tree latent within it. But you won't see it, but it is there. Latent within it, and produces and governs the universe of its potentialities by an omniscient self-energy. Self-energy is the force, but it is omniscient, it knows everything. That means again consciousness. So he's using words interestingly, but they are always together, yet you can in the mind think of them as separate. But they are always interacting with each other. You can also use the words Purusha Prakriti. Purusha is the consciousness, Prakriti is the energy, the force. Okay, so for its creative action, the creative action is meaning the universe. It knows by omnipotent self-consciousness all that is latent within it. It knows whatever is there and produces and governs the universe of its potentialities by an omniscient self-energy. This creative action of the all-existent is the substance, and it includes everything, has its nodus in the fourth, the intermediate principle of supermind or real idea. Now he is introducing the supermind as the go-between, between the unmanifest and the manifest. It is fourth from the bottom, it's also fourth from the top. It is a dividing line between the unmanifested and the manifested. It is supermind that manifests the world. If supermind is not there, there can be no manifestation. Satchidananda has to delegate its power of creation to the supermind to be able to manifest. Okay. It's a supermind that turns the one into the many. There is a triple status of supermind. We did that, no? Yes. Yeah, we did that. So, first of all, there is the oneness. Then the second stage, the oneness starts forming the many. You can imagine this yourself by thinking of the one as the sea, which is absolutely calm and quiet and pure water without any movement at all. Second stage, the waves start forming. Each wave is conscious that it is part of the sea. The wave is the individual, the sea is the universal. In the third level of the third status of the supermind, the wave is more conscious of its individuality than its oneness with the sea. And this is the way the one becomes the many, and beyond the third level, the many become a reality. And each of the many has forgotten that it is part of this totality. You are not aware that you are divine anymore. But when you rise in consciousness, you slowly start realizing that you are the divine.
And Rangada, once again, if the supermind is the thing by which the divine manifests, and no manifestation can happen without the supermind, but those three planes which are above the supermind, so they are self-existent, Swayambhu. Because, they are above the supermind, how would the supermind manifest them? And yet they are.
I didn't exactly follow what you're saying. Tell me again.
I'm saying that we are concluding that the supermind is the principle by which the divine manifests himself.
Okay.
Right. But above the supermind, there are three planes, as you know, Ananda, Chit Shakti and Sat.
Yes.
So who manifests them? And I'm saying that they must be self-existent, because being above the supermind could not have been there manifested.
It's a way of speaking. Actually, supermind is created by the Satchidananda only, in a way. These are very difficult things to understand by the mind. Okay, so you can put it in this way. When I say that the Satchidananda cannot manifest without supermind, it is supermind itself which is creating. The divine is creating the supermind for. Somewhat like the seed has the capacity to manifest a tree. No? But if I put that seed on my table, it remains only potential. It will never produce a tree. So, if I give it the right conditions, I put it into the soil and give water, and then it will, the potentialities become realities. So, you can say that the supermind is the one that gives the conditions, the right conditions for the supermind to manifest itself. You could say that. You can think of it in that way.
So it is the place where ideas become real.
Yes. And that's why he is saying real idea. Now that the real idea is very interesting also, because I would normally understand it this way, that take the example of an architect, okay? He wants to make a building. What does he do first? He makes a plan. He makes a blueprint. He says, this is what I will do. So, that is what is going to become a reality. Right? I want to build a house, I go to an architect, he makes a plan, he puts it on paper and says, this is what is going to be, a concept. But it's not in the reality yet. Now, that blueprint can become a reality. In the physical world, it can become a reality, it may not become a reality. Whereas, so it's only an idea. It can become a reality, it may not. Also, there's another point, even if it becomes a reality, it takes time. There's a time. But in the supermind, every blueprint is bound to become a reality. That's why it is real idea. Well, you have the word also, the archetype. Everything in the physical world, its archetype is in heaven. Okay? So, that is the blueprint. That is the real idea. And it doesn't take time to manifest. It's immediate manifestation. That's why Sri Aurobindo used the word real idea.
This archetype is very interesting because he speaks of the lotus.
Yes.
And tells us not to try to understand it through the mud, but through the archetype that's in heaven.
That's right. You will understand the universe only when you go there and understand the real idea of everything. But everything that is produced in the universe, its Real idea is there already. The conception is there and it produces. Now, Sri Aurobindo is using also a very interesting phrase here. We'll have a look at that. Okay. So, this creative action of the all existence has its nodus in the fourth, the intermediate principle of supermind or real idea, in which a divine knowledge, one with self-existence, now look at that, self-existence, the substance, in which the divine knowledge, one with self-existence and self-awareness, and a substantial will. So, all are there. There is substance, there is consciousness, and there is a will, which is in perfect unison with that knowledge, because it is itself, in its substance and nature, that self-conscious existence, dynamic in illumined action, develop infallibly the movement and form and law of things in right accordance with the self-existent, with their self-existent truth, and in harmony with the significance of its manifestation. So, big sentence. No? So we have to see what he's saying. It's very interesting, but you have to go to each word and see what he's saying. Then it's possible to understand what he's saying. So, this creative action of the all-existent has its nodus in the fourth, the intermediate plane of supermind, or he's calling it also the real idea, in which a divine knowledge, consciousness. Knowledge is an aspect of consciousness, one with self-existence. That consciousness is one with the substance. Okay? That substance is not separate. And self-awareness, consciousness. The knowledge, the divine knowledge is one with the self-existence and self-awareness and a substantial will. Note the word substantial will. Again there is substance. So this substance itself is conscious and also is power in it. So that's why Sri Aurobindo goes on using the word substantial. Substantial here does not mean sufficient quantity, okay? You use the word substantial often in that sense. Oh, he has got sufficient money, substantial, he's substantially rich or something like that you can use. It's not in that sense. He is talking of substance, actually substance. Okay? Which is in perfect unison with that knowledge. And when we think of ourselves, we can understand. I may have knowledge of something, but I may not have the will to execute it. I may have the will to do something, but I don't have the knowledge. Okay? I want to produce a car. I'm very keen. Tata, okay, Ratan Tata. He wants to create the Nano. But he doesn't have the knowledge, so he has to employ somebody who has got the knowledge. But there, knowledge and will are always together. So it can never fail. So that's what he's saying.
So I was reading recently about this word substance. So I was reading about like the supramental manifestation, and Sri Aurobindo says that when the supramental will manifest on earth, matter will not be matter anymore, but it will be supramental substance.
Yes. Because matter is gross, whereas supramental substance will be much subtler, much subtler. That's right.
Actually, the word matter comes from the Sanskrit word matri, which means mother. From that also comes matrix. And the inconscient, that is really the mother. It's called the dark mother in Savitri.
Yes.
And what the supramental will do, it will neutralize the original character of the inconscient.
Yes.
That is why it will no longer be matter.
Yeah. That's right. So what he is saying, even in the physical world, we can see that this is a fact, okay? To create something, I require a substance, I require the knowledge of how to make that substance into something else, and I also need to have the will for it. Even in the physical world, no? So you need I want to build a house. I need bricks. That's a substance, okay? I must know how to do it. That's a knowledge aspect, the consciousness. And I must have the will to do it. So this is Satchidananda. There is substance, there is consciousness, and there is will. And that's why it is possible to do it. He can make the universe because he has all these three things. It's an interesting way of looking at it. So then he's saying, but in our case, our knowledge, our will may not know how to handle this substance. But there, all are total harmony. The substance is conscious of itself. It has got the will to do itself. That's why I spoke of the granite. Okay. So, and there can be no difference between the knowledge and the will. There's no disagreement between them. They are perfect. He's using the word unison. Okay. Unison means perfect unison. It's used also in music, right? Unison. When you're singing all in the same
note.
Yeah, that's
Same
right.
notes.
Unison. So here also they're all singing in the same pitch, if you want. Knowledge, consciousness and force and all are in perfect same pitch. There is no difference between them. So with the knowledge, because it is itself, its substance and nature, that self-conscious self-existence, dynamic in illumined action. There is action. In the physical world, just think of the action. The wind is blowing, but there is no consciousness in it. The river is flowing, but there is no consciousness in it. There is a consciousness which is hiding, but you don't see the consciousness. There is an earthquake, it seems to be mechanical action without consciousness. So, but there, all are together. Consciousness and force are always together. That's what he's saying. Okay? So, and that's why they develop infallibly the movement and form and law of things in right accordance with their self-existent truth and in harmony with the significances of its manifestation. There is perfect, let's have a look at that. Harmony with the significance of its manifestation. There is a truth, the real idea in the supermind. There is a blueprint, if you want, and that blueprint becomes exactly what is intended in the physical world. That's what it means by harmony with the significance of its manifestation. In the physical world, I may have a blueprint, but when I start making the house according to my blueprint, there is a shortage of steel, there is a shortage of bricks, there is a shortage of labor. I cannot execute my blueprint perfectly in the physical world. But there it's not like that. It will perfectly, that's what it means by in harmony with the significance of its manifestation. In other words, what is intended there in the real idea is bound to become this here. That's what he's saying.
Bound to become.
Yes. It becomes exactly what is intended. Having said that, there is a very interesting thing which we have to see. Okay? If that is the truth, then how to explain conjoined twins? Is that also intended? When a calf is born with 6 legs, is that intended? It's a very interesting thing. Okay? On the one hand, he's saying that whatever is intended there becomes a reality here. That we can understand. But then why does this diversion come place? Because there is a densification of the substance. From light, you are coming more and more into darkness. So darkness also has its contribution here. And darkness is the one that gives the deformation and the diminishment, diminishing and deformation. So that's why there is sometimes the darkness has more power than the light at the lower level. But otherwise the supermind is constantly acting, and at this level it becomes itself, the divine himself becomes subject to his own undivineness here.
Can't we say that deformity is also planned?
He's saying, can't we say that the deformity is also planned?
Yes, that's right. That is exactly it. It is planned. In fact, you can think, what's the divine doing? He is plunging himself into the opposite of himself and he is evolving back again. You can think of this, that's the theory of the Leela. It is intended. He himself is playing that game.
This is play.
Yes,
Yes.
that's it. So, the opening paragraph itself, he has summarized, but there are so many things that you have to look at it. So, this is what. Put in very brief, Satchidananda is the highest reality, the nature of the divine. Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda. And it manifests itself through the supermind, which is the intermediate plane. It is fourth from the bottom and fourth from the top. So it is that which manifests. So therefore, supermind is the intervening plane between the unmanifested above and the manifested below. This is one. And the manifestation and the Brahman manifestation all are subject to the ascending and descending grades of substance. Light also is substance. Light also is subject to the grades of substance. The consciousness also is subject to that, and the power also is subject to that. Bliss also is subject to that. Light at the highest level, darkness at the lowest level. So this is what he is saying in the. Also, we must keep in mind one thing. When we are trying to understand by the mind, we have to make pictures and we have to use words. So, this has to also be kept in mind that these are relative truths. When we are speaking of these things, there is relative truths. So, that also we have to keep in mind. That's why the question came up of the supermind and the Satchidananda. Manifestation and unmanifestation.
Rangada, in the motto in the beginning of the chapter, this quotation from the Rig Veda, isn't the infant of a year referring to the psychic being? The word infant?
The infant.
Sanskrit word in the original is Vatsa. I looked it up.
Vatsa, yeah, young. So, Sri Aurobindo has, he will explain also that the infant of the year is the undeveloped man. In fact, Sri Aurobindo uses three words. The infant, the adolescent, and the adult consciousness. The infant consciousness, the adolescent consciousness, and the adult consciousness. The adult consciousness would be at present is a yogi, and the adolescent would be man as he is normally, and the infant consciousness would probably be the animal or even lower down. He uses these words in the here also it will come. The infant of the year is the undeveloped man. He has yet to develop.